Hey friends, if you're worried about your SNAP benefits, you are not alone. In last week's survey, a staggering 96% of you said that you're worried about what might happen to those food benefits this year. And with all of the budget cuts and government changes that are happening, it's no wonder why so many people are anxious. I hear you, and that's why we're breaking down exactly what's happening with the USDA today, what's changing, what's not, and what all of this means for you. Now, you may have already heard that a new leader took over the USDA last week. Brooke Rollins is now the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, and she's already making big moves. She was sworn in on February 13th, and since then, she has wasted no time pushing for major changes at the USDA. Rollins has a background in agriculture policy and government reform. She worked under President Trump in his first term and ran the America First Policy Institute before taking on this new role at the USDA. Now she's in charge of all USDA programs, including food stamps, WIC, farm programs, and more. Given her history in government reform, it's not surprising that Rollins' first big move was inviting the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, into the USDA. We already know that DOGE is everywhere in government right now, but Secretary Rollins seems really excited about this. She said, quote, "I welcome DOGE's efforts at USDA because we know that its work makes us better, stronger, faster, and more efficient. I know that this is not comforting at all. For millions of families, these programs are more than just government policies. They mean food on the table, support during tough times, and a little peace of mind when budgets are already stretched way too thin." So when a new USDA leader comes in talking about government efficiency and cutting costs, of course people are going to start to worry. So naturally, the big question is, are your benefits at risk? And that's an important and completely understandable question because SNAP benefits alone are critical for the support of 41 million people across America. The USDA still has not announced any direct cuts to SNAP benefits yet, but with DOGE involved, we know that some changes are coming. Their job is to find wasteful spending and cut it, and that often means reducing or restructuring things, sometimes in ways that may impact people who need that support the most. The good news is that so far, those cuts have not affected the amount spent on SNAP benefits. According to a recent press release, Rollins canceled over $132 million in government contracts in her first week. This included over $2 million in Politico news subscriptions, as well as additional money in vehicle purchases, mentorship programs, meetings in Hawaii, and other initiatives. So, let's take a look at what else we know so far about the changes that are happening. And as we move into this, I just want to be real with you for a second. Some people in the comments of our last video said that I was shilling for the government just because I was trying to explain things in a calm, non-biased way. But that's not what's happening here. The truth is that I am just exhausted, guys. Every day it feels like there's another flood of headlines designed to make everyone panic. And for so many of us, that stress is real. Grocery prices are climbing, benefits feel uncertain, and the future can feel scary. A lot of us are just trying to hang on and make it through the month. And look, I wrestle with my own daily panic attacks too, right? I have anxiety. I know how overwhelming all of this can be. The last thing I want to do is add to that fear. What I do want to do is help you. And right now, the best way I know how to do that is by sticking to the facts, breaking them down, and helping you understand what's actually happening and not just what people are speculating about or what they want to make you fear about. There are plenty of other creators out there who can give you fear if that's what you're looking for, but I never want that to be the vibe you get from my videos. I want this to be a place where you can get the facts without the sensationalism, where we can have real conversations about what's happening and what it means for all of us. Okay, so now let's talk about what Secretary Rollins has actually done, what she's actually said, and what all of this actually means. So one of Secretary Rollins' first actions was sending letters to state leaders, encouraging them to test new approaches to SNAP. And one of the biggest focuses was work requirements. In her letter, she said that she wanted to, quote, associate access to SNAP benefits with clear expectations that those who can work do, end quote. This means that states could start tightening work requirements for food stamp recipients, especially for adults without dependents. Right now, if you're between the ages of 18 and 59, you have to work at least 80 hours a month to qualify for SNAP unless you have a disability or you're raising a child. Of course, some states have waivers that loosen those rules in areas with high unemployment. But with this new USDA push, we could see fewer work requirement waivers, meaning that more people would have to meet work requirements in order to keep their benefits. We may also see stricter enforcement, where states more closely monitor work hours or remove those who don't meet those obligations. We could also see pilot programs to test new eligibility rules. Obviously, none of this is happening just yet. Nothing is going to happen overnight. But Rollins has made it very clear that she believes work requirements should be a bigger part of SNAP moving forward. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think that work requirements for SNAP should be stricter, or will this hurt people who genuinely need help? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now, another area where we could see changes has to do with what you can buy with SNAP. Rollins has said that she wants to, quote, strengthen strategies to encourage healthy choices, healthy outcomes, and healthy families, end quote. Now, this sounds great, right? But in the past, when the government wants to push healthy food reforms in SNAP, it has all been about food restrictions and banning certain foods, especially things like sugary drinks, candy, processed foods, or basically anything that lawmakers might deem unhealthy. Now, this isn't just an idea that gets talked about every few years. The Healthy SNAP Act has officially been reintroduced in Congress, and this time it is gaining real support. If passed, this bill could restrict what SNAP recipients can buy, removing sugary drinks, snack foods, and other non-nutrition items from the list of approved purchases. Now, lawmakers, of course, say that this is about improving public health and reducing healthcare costs. But for SNAP users, it could mean a big shift in how they're allowed to use their benefits. Instead of choosing how to stretch their grocery dollars, families would have to follow a stricter government-approved shopping list. And my big concern here is that a lot of the most affordable foods in the grocery store aren't necessarily the most nutritious. And healthy food can be very, very expensive. So this could become a major challenge for SNAP households. Now, in the past, similar efforts have never made it through Congress. But this time, things seem different. With growing support and momentum, this could be the first real attempt to enforce nationwide restrictions on what can and cannot be purchased with SNAP. And it's not just Congress trying to change what SNAP recipients can buy either. Some states are also pushing for their own restrictions. Over the years, several states have tried to create pilot programs that would limit what low-income families could purchase with their SNAP benefits. These state-level proposals have included everything from banning soda to restricting all processed foods. Now, so far, the USDA has always rejected these pilot programs, partly because enforcing different food rules in different states would create a logistical nightmare for grocery stores and national retailers, especially since SNAP shoppers can cross state lines with their benefits. Now, since the USDA has never authorized those kinds of changes before, I've always been able to confidently tell you in the past that you don't need to seriously worry about restrictions proposed on a state level. But that seems to be changing. Secretary Rollins' new emphasis on state innovation means that we could see some of these states reapply for permission to test these programs again, especially since the USDA now seems more open to letting states experiment with food stamps policies. In some of her letters, Secretary Rollins said that she is committed to, quote, encouraging states to choose policy options that protect both participants and the taxpayer, end quote. In another letter, she said, quote, I am inviting every state, territory, and tribal leader in the nation to participate in our Laboratories of Innovation initiative to serve as policy incubators and bring greater efficiency to government programs. We encourage you to propose bold ideas to address challenges that have long plagued our nation, end quote. This means that she is encouraging states to experiment with different policies. And that means that if you live in a state that has previously tried to limit food choices under SNAP, this issue might be coming back sooner than we expected. If the USDA allows these sorts of pilot programs to move forward, we could see a patchwork of different SNAP rules across the country where what you can buy would depend on where you live. So, do you think that states should be able to set their own rules for SNAP, or should it be the same nationwide? Let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, we know that food prices are out of control right now, and the USDA says that they're working on it, starting with eggs. One of Rollins' first briefings was about the avian flu crisis that has driven up the price of eggs. Since last year, over 40 million chickens were lost to the disease, causing egg prices to skyrocket. She's now working on a new USDA strategy to lower egg prices, which, if successful, could mean cheaper eggs in the coming months and lower prices on chicken and poultry. And of course, that's just one part of the food price problem, right? Everything in the grocery store seems to be getting more expensive by the day. So we're going to have to wait and see if any other cost-cutting measures are actually going to help those grocery bills go down. So here's the thing. The USDA is clearly making some big moves. Secretary Rollins was only sworn in 5 days ago, and she's already signaling some drastic changes. Things don't usually move very fast in government, and any big changes are sure to face opposition. But in the meantime, it's important to know that SNAP is not being cut right now, but that may change in the future. Since so many of you signaled that you're worried about your benefits, I'm going to do my best to keep you informed in real time about these changes and updates. I know for years we've done one monthly EBT update, but I just don't feel like that's sufficient right now because I want to make sure that you always have the facts and not just rumors. So I'm going to try to keep up with this for you in real time. Ultimately, here's the bottom line for today. The USDA is clearly making some big moves. And while big government shifts usually take time to be enacted, we know that change is coming. We just don't know the specifics yet. Some of these policies may take months or even years to fully take effect. But if you rely on SNAP or other USDA programs, it's important to stay ahead of what's happening right now. I want you to know that you're not alone in this. We're all in this together, and that's why I'm committed to helping you stay informed. Not with hype, not with fear, but with real facts that are going to help you make the best decisions for your family. Because the truth is that I know these programs aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're lifelines for real people. People like you, people like me, people like the millions of families trying to get by in this tough economy. So if you're worried about what's next, please stick with us. I'll be tracking these changes in real time so that you don't have to sift through all that confusion. If something happens, you'll know about it here first. And I'd love to hear from you too. What's your biggest concern right now? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it.